Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today, first of all, we will welcome Ambassador Zhang Jun, brief us about the consideration of Security Council's work for March under China's presidency. And then Ambassador Zhang will take your questions. Thank you. Ambassador Zhang, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon, dear friends. It's good to be here. But this is a familiar room, I'm sure, for all of you. But for me, it's really a new place. We are more or less used to handle things behind the scene in the Security Council. But anyway, it's good to see so many friends here in this press conference room. You all know that China will assume the presidency of the Security Council in March. For us, definitely is a heavy responsibility. The Security Council has the primary responsibility in maintaining world peace and security. We all know that the current world is far from being peaceful. Thus, the Security Council has a big role to play in promoting peace, in seeking for peaceful and political settlement of those conflicts. That's the high expectation from the international community. And that's also what has been entrusted to the Council by the Charter from the first day the United Nations was established. The Council will have a busy month in March. I'm sure many of you have seen the program for March. We have already put it on our website.
And also the table.
Okay. And it's available to all of you. For China, definitely, we will attach great importance to our presidency. From the first day in assuming this presidency, we will adopt a constructive, a responsible approach in the handling of those issues on the agenda of the Council. We will try our best to promote communication, coordination, and unity among all Council members. And we will try our best to further seek for peaceful settlement of all those issues. And we will also stay in close contact with all member states, with friends from the media, and also friends from the civil society. So after this meeting, I will have some interactive dialogue with friends from the civil society. And yes, indeed, we will have a full program for March. But among all the things, China has also identified some of its priorities. For China, the first priority will be given to multilateralism. We will try hard to uphold multilateralism. We all know that we are living in a world full of uncertainties, and we are faced with many, many challenges. Old problems are there, while new problems, new threats, new challenges also emerge. We are also aware of the fact that the rise of unilateralism has shaken international order, shaken the rule of international law, and shaken the central role plays by the United Nations. So while commemorating the 75th anniversary of the United Nations, we do need to work even harder to preserve multilateralism. Multilateralism represents the solution of all problems. It creates a platform for all of us to tackle with all those challenges ahead of us. And it creates a better environment for the United Nations to play its role. Thus, China will initiate an open debate on multilateralism, especially by focusing on seeking for political settlement of disputes. That event will be on the 19th of March, so it will be open to all member states. We have also invited Secretary General Guterres, President Bundy of the General Assembly, and President Youssef of the International Court of Justice to share with us their views concerning multilateralism. On that occasion, all member states are invited to address that event. We do hope that through that event we can reaffirm our strong support to multilateralism, and we will further strengthen our efforts in promoting political settlement of disputes. And we hope that friends from the media will continue to give your attention to that deliberation. And the second priority in March will be given to Africa, to pay more attention on Africa-related issues and to support the efforts in promoting peace and development in Africa. We all know that Africa is the continent with the greatest potential of development. Meanwhile, Africa is still confronted with many uncertainties and many challenges. As I said, old problems remain there. Meanwhile, they're also faced with emerging ones. Among them is the threat of terrorism and extremism. I have talked to many African ambassadors. I have talked to several special envoys of the Secretary General posted in Africa. Is the same feeling that we are faced a growing threat from terrorism. Based on that, we will arrange a debate on peace and security in Africa, especially on terrorism and the threat of terrorism and extremism. That will be on March the 11th. We hope that with that, we are able to hear views from the African Union, from the Secretariat, from African states, especially in obtaining some practical ideas on how to address this rising threat in the African continent. We hope that through that event we may have more ideas to build up more consensus on information sharing, on capacity building, especially capacity building in helping African countries address this new threat. And we also hope that through this discussion, we can also give a bigger role to African regional organizations in the tackling of this new threat. We also, the third priority we will give will be a peacekeeping operation. We hope that through discussions we can further address the challenges faced by peacekeeping operations. Peacekeeping operations, as we all know, is one of the major tools, the major vehicles in carrying out the mandate of the Security Council. It played a big role. Meanwhile, peacekeeping operations are also faced with many new challenges, including the lack of efficient capacity, including the threat posed to safety and the security of peacekeepers. So that draws a lot of concern from troop contributing countries and from soldiers deployed on the ground. So China will initiate a debate on peacekeeping operations, especially on capacity building and safety and the security of peacekeepers on March the 24th. So we hope that we will listen the views not only from the Secretariat, but from institutions related to peacekeeping operations, and also from, especially from troop contributors, and then to build up ideas in how to address this issue more properly in the coming days. We hope that we can come up with some tangible outcome or practical or pragmatic ideas on the basis of those discussions. And the next priority of the Chinese presidency will be seeking for political settlement of various conflicts in the world. We do have many conflicts in the world, even though we are working hard to tackle those problems. We have made a lot of effort and we have made a lot of progress. But meanwhile, what's also true is that we still see tensions here and there, and tensions in some place in the Middle East, in the Gulf region, are escalating. So we do need to give more attention to those situations. As I said, we have a full schedule, and we will cover almost all the major conflicts in Syria, in Libya, in Iraq, in Yemen. So China will make tireless effort in cooperating with other members of the Council, promoting dialogue, trying to narrow differences, trying hard to bring the parties concerned together and to narrow their differences through dialogues to promote peaceful process in those related countries. So we really hope that through these efforts we can see some more progress concerning those conflicts in various parts of the world, so as to better exercise the mandate of the Security Council in maintaining peace and security. And our priority will also give to the effort in further improving the efficiency and the methodology of the Security Council, making sure that it's in a better position to exercise its mandate. We are doing that every day. We all know that the Council is shouldering a very important responsibility in promoting peace, security all over the world. Meanwhile, we are faced with many, many new challenges, so we do need to work more closely, more constructively, more responsibly in the Security Council. It's not easy. We all know that. Living in a world which is becoming, frankly speaking, very divided, it's not easy to bring all Security Council members together to make it a united and a coordinated one. But we will try our best to make our efforts along that direction. We will, as the presidency, we will adopt an open, inclusive, transparent, impartial, and fair approach in our work in March. We will stay in close communication and dialogue with all member states. I have talked to, as I said earlier, I have talked to many ambassadors, especially ambassadors representing countries which are related to conflicts in the world. And I have talked to member states this morning too, sharing with them the work of the Security Council, especially the program in March. I have also talked to the President of the General Assembly, the President of ECOSOC, listening to their views and trying to have more synergy among the major bodies of the United Nations, making sure that we are better coordinated in achieving the goals entrusted to the major bodies by the Charter. And we will also listen to the views of the civil society, including the views from the media. I know from time to time your views are quite aggressive, but that is also helpful for the Council. We need to listen to views representing different people in the public, and then to further facilitate the work of the Council. So we know it's not easy, but we will do that. I have told colleagues in my dialogue in the morning that I have a small office at the corner of the Security Council. It's not very luxurious, but it's good enough to have a good conversation. So I will keep myself and my team and the whole presidency open to all friends from member states, friends from the civil society, and friends from the media. I sincerely hope that in assuming the presidency in March, China will make some contribution in a unique way in exercising the responsibilities of the Council and also in preserving multilateral multilateralism in promoting the collective effort of the Security Council in maintaining peace and security in the world. For that purpose, I count on the support, the help, the understanding, and the cooperation from the media. That's more or less my remarks, my introduction concerning the work program of March of the Security Council. Meanwhile, I'm also open to your questions. But please do understand this is a press conference or a press briefing concerning the work of the Security Council in March. We hope that we focus on that. I thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Zhang. Now the Q&A. So please focus your question on Security Council's work, please. Yeah. Michelle, please. Okay, Claire. Okay.
Thank you, Ambassador, on behalf of ANCA for this press conference, and we wish you the best of luck for the month of presidency. Valeria Robeco from ANSA Newswire. My question is, do you plan to discuss the coronavirus emergency in the Security Council during your month of presidency? And also, looking at the map of all the cases around the world, it is now spread in Asia, Europe, and North America, but almost nothing in Africa and South America, for example. So it is really possible that the south of the world is sort of immune from the virus. Thank you.
最后这一部分是什么呀？
现在非洲很难。
Well, thank you. I'm prepared for your first question, but your second question is really beyond my knowledge. And I hope that the whole world is immune from that virus. Yes, indeed, you are right. We are faced with the challenges arising from the outbreak of the novel coronavirus, which is called COVID-19. And we see progress and new development in China in containing the spreading of that virus. And meanwhile, we also see some new development in other parts of the world, including in this country. And we do have heard from the Secretariat concerning the arrangements of various of meetings in the United Nations framework, including and especially the arrangement of the forthcoming CSW. With regard to the Security Council, at this moment, I think it's the general feeling of member states while we watch closely of the situation, especially its new development. We do not need to go panicky about that epidemic. What's also clear is that the issue of the coronavirus falls within the concept of global public health and security. What the Security Council's primary responsibility is dealing with the geopolitical security and peace. So the public health security issue is not in the scope of the mandate of the Security Council in a narrow concept. But what we do think is important is that the Security Council will also watch the situation very closely. At this moment, we do not have any plan to have a specific discussion on this issue. And thank you.
Michelle, Reuters.
Thank you. Thanks, Ambassador. Michelle Nichols from Reuters. I have two questions for you. One is just regarding the announcement from Washington that the United States is planning to cut the number of visas for journalists with Chinese-based outlets from 160 to 100 next week. Just looking to see if we could get your response to that. And just on DPRK, overnight there was some more missile tests by DPRK. China has said that there should be dialogue. What will you be doing this month to encourage that dialogue? Will you be holding any kind of meeting aside from the panel of experts renewal meeting? Do you think the Security Council should meet on this? Will you be pushing forward your draft resolution?
Mm-hmm. Well, with regard to your first question, definitely it's not linked to the work of the Security Council, but on that issue, China has, on various occasions, made our remarks, our position very clear. And this is a country advocates of freedom of expression, and this is a country which is supposed to give full support to the work of correspondence. Yes, indeed, between China and the United States, we have some differences, but we do not think it's appropriate for the United States to take steps in interfering the work of journalists coming from China. With regard to your second question, what I can tell you is that the issue of relating to DPRK is not in general on the agenda of the Security Council in March, but the Council will discuss the extension of the mandate of the panel of experts in March. That will be the major action taken by the Council relating to DPRK. Meanwhile, what you said is right. For China, we do encourage the parties concerned to make every effort they can to resume dialogue and to seek a solution of the issue between the parties concerned through dialogue, through negotiations, and for the aimed at achieving non-nuclearization or denuclearization in the Korean Peninsula, and also the achieving lasting peace. And at this moment, we do not have any similar arrangement like what you have mentioned, but you all know that China and Russia have presented a draft resolution for the purpose of promoting peace and in the Korean Peninsula. And that text of draft resolution remains on the table, and we are open for views on that draft resolution. And we believe that it's a very important step in creating a more favorable environment for the further improvement of the situation in the Korean Peninsula. And thank you.
新华。
Thank you, Ambassador Xu Xiaolei with China's Xinhua News Agency. Also on coronavirus, as we can see for some time now, the daily count of new cases in China is on a downward slope, and the daily count of the cases outside of Hubei province is less than 10 now. That is out of a huge population. As some parts of the world are tackling the cluster outbreaks of coronavirus, and some other parts are facing the possibility of that happening. So what do you think we can draw from China's experiences? Thank you.
Thank you for your question, and I know that some friends are very much concerned about the about COVID-19 and also about the situation in China. Let me answer your question in the following way. First, China's fight against the coronavirus is indeed making huge progress, and the situation is really becoming stable, and the situation is developing towards the right direction, and the situation is really getting better and better, and we all know that in the past 2 months' time, the outbreak of the coronavirus does pose a serious threat and challenge to people's lives, people's health in China. Faced with such a severe challenge under the leadership of President Xi, we have taken unprecedented efforts and measures, and we can say that the measures we have taken are the most comprehensive, the most strict, and the most prompted ones in China. And we, in the past 2 months' time, I'm sure you are the ones to give me the answer, but I'm sure the whole world has witnessed the strong determination of the Chinese government and the strength, the power of a united Chinese nation, and also the strength of the Chinese system. We have also witnessed many touching stories of dedication, of sacrifice from medical workers, from ordinary people, including from journalists in China. So it's based on that we are able to make enormous progress. You have mentioned the numbers. Yes, the numbers really tell the truth about what we have achieved. As of March the 1st, that was Beijing time yesterday, the new confirmed cases have decreased to a little bit more than 200. That's already quite low. And the new recovered cases have reached 2,800. So we have altogether more than 44,000 people recovered from the epidemic. And we are all very much concerned about the deaths caused by the epidemic. But we, frankly speaking, we still worried that we are still worried that the epidemic is still causing lives. But now the number is already reduced to around 40 as of March the 1st. So all those represent huge progress. It means that all the measures we have taken are becoming effective, are taking effect. We, of course, while we are working very hard in combating the virus in China, we have really adopted a very responsible, a very constructive approach in our cooperation with other countries. We know that in other countries we do have some new developments, and we do hope that what we are doing in China or what we have done in China will be able helping other countries. Of course, countries are different. Countries may adopt different approaches, but we will be pleased to share our not only information but also our good experiences with other countries. What's true is that what we are doing in China is not only helping the Chinese themselves, we are also helping the world. And we hope that based on that contribution, we can do something more. And we are also, while sharing with information with other countries, sharing with expertise, sharing with experiences, we are also trying our best to provide medical assistance to other countries. We hope that will help them to cope with the situation in their countries. So it's indeed our common responsibility to cope with the virus. And we definitely believe that with the coming of spring, we are not far from the coming of the victory, of the final defeat of COVID-19. And thank you.
Next question. Elise, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. And I know all of us in this room wish that there will be a vaccine and sooner rather than later, and that we will not be talking about COVID-19 for the rest of the year. Two questions. First, the UN envoy for Libya, Qasem Salameh, resigned today. Mm-hmm. What impact will this have, and what do you expect the Council to be discussing on that issue? And I know you mentioned the Commission on the Status of Women, the meeting next week being drastically cut back, since it is a commemoration of the 25th anniversary of the Beijing Women's Conference. I think China has quite an interest in this, and I wonder whether you think this was the right decision to scale it back to one day and postpone the larger meeting to sometime in the future.
Thank you, Edith. With regard to your first question, yes, indeed, it's something new to all of us. I mean, the resignation of Special Envoy Salameh. And since we have just received that information, it does take some more time to assess what will be the impact. what I can tell you and share with you is that the issue of Libya is on the agenda of the Security Council, and we planned to hear from Mr. Salame about the latest development there. We do appreciate the efforts he has made in promoting a peace process, a political process, and in bringing an end to the conflict there. But we also know that there are many difficulties. And for the Security Council, we have just adopted a resolution last month. I think our commitment remains unchanged in promoting peace, in promoting political settlement. So we will give a close watch on the new development. We think it's our belief that whatever happens, we should remain committed in supporting the United Nations role, including the efforts of the Secretary General in promoting, in finding a lasting peace there. And we will remain committed in promoting the implementation of the resolution adopted by the Security Council, which also endorsed the outcome of the Berlin summit. And we will remain committed in supporting a Libyan-led and Libyan-owned peace process there and trying to stop outside interference and also to realize a lasting ceasefire, a lasting truce there. And with regard to CSW, yes, indeed, it's a pity that we have to rearrange the meetings, and that's something from the Secretariat. As the President of the Council, I do not want to make too many comments on that. But what's true is that, we are really faced with some uncertainties arising from the coronavirus. As I see it, what we do believe is that even though the format of the meeting of CSW might be rearranged a little bit, our commitment remains unchanged. We do believe that this year marks a very important year, not only commemorating Beijing Plus 25, it's also a chance for us to maintain the strong momentum in promoting rights of women and the rights and the protection of women's rights. And I'm sure the international community's efforts will not be affected by the epidemic. And we still have many, many ways in pursue our effort. And as the President of the Security Council, I will also participate in the opening of the CSW. I will speaking on behalf of the Council. I will share with colleagues of the CSW our firm belief on that. And thank you.
Yeah, please.
Thank you, Ambassador. On coronavirus again, what are the needs for China from other countries if China needs any support from other countries in fighting coronavirus? Also on Libya, there were attempts in the past to name an envoy a joint envoy between the United Nations and the African Union or the League of the Arab States? Does China support a joint special envoy for Libya or even Western Sahara, let's say? Thank you.
Thank you. With regard to your first question, let me, by taking this opportunity to express China's heartfelt appreciation and gratitude to the support, the understanding, the help, the assistance we have received from other countries. And as we always say at this critical moment, solidarity is the most important thing. And for China, we are making progress, but meanwhile, we still count on the continuing support from other countries. And meanwhile, China will do whatever we can in helping other countries in fighting against this epidemic. We will not, as I said, we will try our best to provide whatever we can in helping other countries. Meanwhile, what China can also do is to revitalize its economy. That's what we are doing. Definitely the epidemic, the coronavirus, has caused a negative impact on the Chinese economy. But meanwhile, because of the strong resilience, because of the enormous domestic consumption and the domestic market, and because of the solid foundation of the Chinese economy, we are very much confident that we are able to realize the goals we have set for this year, the economic goals, the social goals. We do have confidence about the future of the Chinese economy. We know that's our responsibility because of China's important role in the global value chain, the global supply chain. We hope that the restoration of the economic and social order, the productivity capability of the Chinese economy will also be able to help other countries to inject a new strength in their efforts in coping with the virus and the epidemic. With regard to Libya, as I said, this is the first day we have heard about that news, and it will be mainly up to the Secretary General to come up with some new thoughts about in finding the successor of Mr. Salameh. And the Security Council stands ready in communicating with the Secretary General on that. Meanwhile, for China, it's always our view that the neighboring countries and the regional organizations in Africa, especially the African Union, has a big role play in the tackling of the situation in Libya. So it's our hope that whatever happens, neighboring countries and the African regional organizations will continue to give full support to the efforts of the Secretary General and the United Nations as a whole in promoting peace, in finding a lasting security in Libya. Thank you.
Actually, the Ambassador, we've already run out of our time, so shall we take one or two
questions?
Two more questions, but each one person, one question, please. Phoenix.
Okay.
Thank you, Ambassador. I'm Yi Chen from Hong Kong Phoenix TV. And my question is about, because there's more cases reported outside of China rather than inside of China, is China planning to apply any restrictions to hotspot countries like Italy, South Korea, or like Iran to prevent for any further input inside of China?
Well, as I said, we are adopting a very responsible and constructive approach in international cooperation in fighting against this virus. We are watching closely the situation in other countries. And meanwhile, the situation in China remains challenging. And we still need to do whatever we can in preventing, in controlling the spread of this virus. And we are also doing whatever we can in saving lives. You know, we still have serious cases in China. But what I can assure you is that China does not adopt a discriminative or a double standard approach or policy towards any other country. We are very much supportive to the efforts made by other countries like the countries you have mentioned, Italy, Korea. We do have received a lot of assistance and help from those countries, and we are also doing whatever we can in helping those countries. We really do not have distinguished citizens of other countries from the Chinese ones. We treat all those people on an equal footing or in a discriminative way. We hope that by doing so, we are not causing problems. We are really making our further contribution in the control of this epidemic.
CBS.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ambassador. It's Pamela Falk from CBS News. My question is about back to North Korea. To what do you attribute the missile tests when there has been a pause in some of them? And are you getting any support for your resolution to ease some of the sanctions? And on that note, do you expect the panel of experts report to come out on Friday? Thank you.
You have touched almost all the dimensions of the issue. It may take a few hours to have a complete and comprehensive deliberation on that. And first, I know that you are watching the latest development, especially the launching, and we are also watching that very closely. And on that, it's our position that parties concerned really need to show more flexibilities in building up mutual trust, in seeking solutions through dialogue, and especially in realizing the final goals of denuclearization and a lasting peace in the Korean Peninsula. And meanwhile, for China, our position is also that the concerns of DPRK should be also appropriately addressed by the Security Council. We all know that we have adopted various resolutions concerning sanctions against the DPRK. But sanctions is only part of the process. Sanctions does not represent the final end. And sanctions is only a means in realizing our goals. So while we have seen some progress from one side, we also need to show some flexibilities from the other side. So that's why we have tabled a draft resolution trying to create a more favorable environment in realizing our goals. And we are I won't say whether we are supported or not by tabling this draft resolution, but I think it's always the belief of the Council members that, according to the mandate entrusted to us, seeking for political solution through dialogues is always our first choice. So we should make every effort in achieving that goal. And we should try our effort to achieve that goal by avoiding the negative impact. You know, we do see a lot of humanitarian impact on ordinary people in DPRK. So we should do whatever we can to lessen, to diminish the negative impact on that. So that's why we have called for the adjustment of the sanctions imposed against DPRK, especially nowadays. You know, many countries are also being affected negatively by COVID-19, including DPRK. So we do think we should take all the things into consideration in finding a comprehensive solution to the issue relating to DPRK. I know that it's not easy to answer your question, but we do hope that we have all parties should give a second thought on this issue and to think about in what way we can really find some good solution.
And just as a follow-up, how is North Korea affected by COVID, the coronavirus?
We know that they are also attaching great importance in taking preventive measures, and they are also doing whatever they can in fighting this virus. But based in New York, I have, frankly speaking, I do not have sufficient information to share with you what's the exact situation there. Thank you.
Thank you.
The Chinese
So
diplomat-
we will keep you posted both through your email address and also our website and also Twitter account. Thank you.
Do China cut off?
Testing.
Do you-
From the relevant U.S. authorities concerning restrictions. We are managing to cope with because of those restrictions. We are trying hard to mobilize the labor in my mission to cope with the growing workload. CSW, we are not able to send any delegate from Beijing to participate in the CSW, but concerning the latest development is the Secretariat also does not encourage the participation from capitals on that meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I have to go to the civil society and not to let them to wait for so long. Thank you. What?